It's the Trailer Island Podcast. It's another Wednesday and we're talking more films and trailers and things. I'm Alex and I'm joined by
Steve.
And Matthew.
Hey, have you... Those seagulls,
Yeah.
have we ever considered them as a source of protein?
Oh my god, we are idiots.
I tried to build a raft out of them.
Did you pluck them or did you...
No, why would I do that?
Well, I just wanted you could make like a
That's
coat-
insulated warmth
Yeah,
right there.
well, no, my point is you could actually make some sunshade out of their feathers, and then when you're on the raft, you wouldn't get sunburnt.
Yeah, but those feathers are waterproof. That's what's keeping my raft afloat.
Remember what happened to Tom Hanks in Castaway? That man was blistered and he was sunburnt. He was a very sunburnt man.
I already am.
Yeah.
This, you know what? This really didn't go the way that I was expecting this conversation to go.
I assume that this... I can say the same thing about this podcast. I thought this was going to be a home improvement podcast. Look where we are now.
Yeah.
No, we're not here to build trailers for your car or anything like that. No, we're talking about films and their trailers. Did the film deliver what the trailer promised? And we are in for a doozy this week.
Classic this week.
I am
Classic.
so excited about this one.
It is quite the classic, and it's a request
It is. Yes, wonderful requests from old Dad.
from your father.
From my father.
Now, how did he get a request to you, Matthew?
Are you
Did
seeing
he-
him in hallucinations like I am?
Well, that's the thing is, I that took me far longer than it should have to have. Got that anyway. It doesn't matter. No, I had a whole thing planned where I could have ran around that. Doesn't matter. He's asked me to do this because this is one of his favorite films of all time. And I think it's widely regarded as being a bit of a sci-fi... Well, it is a sci-fi masterpiece. And it is one of my favorites as well. Now, on that topic, though, so thank you, Dad, for requesting this. I'm so glad...
What's your dad's name?
Andrew.
Andrew. Thank
Yeah.
you, Andrew, for
Thank you,
sending
Andy.
in this request. I think he threw a bottle into the ocean, maybe
Yeah.
with a biscuit inside it
Yeah,
too.
which was lovely. Now, I have to apologise to both of you because not only is this one of my favourite films of all time, but it's also by one of my own favourite filmmakers and also someone who's a personal hero, Ridley Scott. So if I start waffling on a little bit, you're going to have to stop me. Just a
Okay.
pre-warning. I might
Okay.
get carried away.
Okay, I think we can work with that.
Okay.
I'll throw a conch shell or something
Please.
at you.
Ridley Scott obviously being the less famous brother of Tony Scott.
Don't do this to me. Ridley Scott is the one filmmaker
Here we go.
who he's that one filmmaker who I would like pay anything to have like the opportunity just to sit down for half an hour and just talk and just, you know, sort of have a chat and everything.
Do you know Ridley Scott? Yeah, listeners out there, does anyone know Ridley Scott? If you do, send him our way. contact@trailerisland.com.au and I'll turn the spam filter off for a few hours and I'm sure he'll contact us.
Please,
Because
it'd make me
I,
so
for
happy.
one, would be so happy to see Matthew speechless.
Oh,
Do you think you could ask him questions if we actually had a conversation with Ridley Scott?
I cannot actually express how much I idolize him as a filmmaker because I just love his body of work and his talent. So no, I think I would probably just freeze up and just look like a bit. I'd probably ask him if have my babies. Probably is probably what I would do.
So you're going to ask him about his body.
See, you're giggling like a little schoolgirl right now without
But
even...
How old is Ridley Scott? He's in his 80s. But
It's definitely illegal, yeah.
he point is that he's a really, really good filmmaker and I love his body of work and the reason for that is he understands theme and how theme can relate back to character arcs so well and in such a good way. And then also visually his work is just stunning and this film is a great example of his visual ability, like this film that we're about to talk about, which I realize we haven't really gone into much
Well,
yet.
the film that we are going to talk about now, I'm going to assume that I've selected the right trailer for this film to actually play. And as we will discuss, there are many iterations of this film, but because you love it so much, Steve, what film are we doing?
Robin Hood.
We are doing Blade Runner.
Oh, what?
Kind of nervous when I take tests.
I've got 4 skin jobs walking the street.
They're either a benefit or a hazard. If they're a benefit, it's not my problem.
Not my problem.
I'm Rachel.
Deckard.
Have you ever retired a human by mistake?
No.
What if I go north? Disappear. Would you come after me?
No, you would. But somebody would.
Too bad she won't live. I can see you. Time to die.
Will you help us? What seems to be the problem? Death. I want more life. An experiment. Nothing more. Nothing more. More human than human is our motto.
So I didn't watch the trailer for this, and it leads us into I think the first point in this discussion is
Sure.
because what version are we watching the trailer for? What trailer should I be watching?
Yeah.
This is obviously a really well-known discussion when it comes to Blade Runner. What version was that, Matt?
So it's a bit complex. So this came out in 1982. I just saw Alex just sigh to himself as I started then. So so the film originally came out in 1982. And the final cut, which is the version we are talking about, came out, I think, in 2007, which is actually just a director's cut. So I'll keep this brief for the benefit of our dear listeners and also, I think, for my own safety. When this film was made, Ridley Scott was powering off the back of Alien, like he's finally made his big break and everything. And so he was going to adapt Philip K. Dick's book or novel, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, which is a very sort of moody, thought-provoking kind of book. It's not an action piece or a horror piece or anything like that. And I think even that trailer, that sort of kind of makes it sound like an action movie, which this is not. It's not an action film. It's a detective sort of film noir kind of thing, but set in the future. So Ridley Scott was trying to, being the very arty person he is, was trying to make a very thought-provoking film. And Warner Brothers were basically just trying to make it. They wanted another Alien film, is what they wanted. And I mean, the production of this film apparently was a nightmare to be on. They were running over budget and over time a lot of the time. So basically, the film that came out in '82 was not the version or the vision that Ridley Scott had. It was a very sort of bastardized version of the film. Since then, they've done other director's cuts and anniversary cuts. I think there are about 6 in total different versions of this movie. And then finally, in 2007, Ridley Scott recut it. He reintroduced material that had been axed and axed a voiceover that had been there since the original that no one likes. Even Harrison Ford doesn't like it. And he sort of said, "This is my version of the film now. This is the one that I want people to remember." And personally, if you sort of look over the notes of what's changed, I haven't seen all the cuts. I've seen the original on VHS. I kind of agree with what he's added. It strengthens the theme. Most notably, there's a unicorn dream in this version. We'll get to the story in a moment, but that wasn't in the original one. And it sort of raises this question is Harrison Ford a replicant himself? Is he an android and he just doesn't know it? Because in the original version, that wasn't ever a question. And Harrison Ford himself has, for a long time, always said, no, he's a human. He's not an android. Whereas Ridley Scott always said, no, of course he's an android.
Let's back it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Let's back it up.
Anyway, we'll back it up.
What's
reel
the
this in.
film? What is the film about?
So, Blade Runner. It's set Los Angeles 2019.
Yeah.
So we're sort of in a Back to the Future kind of mode here. And replicants are sort of a slave labor kind of thing, basically. And they can be quite dangerous. They have a built-in 4-year lifespan. And some replicants have mutinied off-world outside of planet Earth. And they're basically being hunted down. And they've come back to Earth because, as we discover in the film, they are basically... well, they've sort of formed their own emotions and memories and they want to prolong their life. So they're coming back to Earth to find Tyrell, who's the guy who's made these replicants, to basically say, hey, can you fix this? But they're obviously being hunted, and so Harrison Ford plays Deckard, a Blade Runner, who is someone who hunts down replicants. And that's how the film starts, is he gets assigned to having to hunt down these, I think there are 4 of them?
Yes.
4 of them, yeah.
The leader of which is Roy Batty, played by Rutger Hauer, who's fantastic in this, and that's it. It's a detective film with a lot of philosophy, and a lot of questions about what it is to be human, I would suggest.
That's my favorite. This is my favorite subgenre of sci-fi. I love stories about artificial intelligence. I love them.
Yeah.
That's why I love Westworld. That's why I love Blade Runner 2049. I mean, I even really, really like Bicentennial Man. That really, really.
I love that movie.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah.
I mean, it is so like childish and just pretty hammy as well.
But it makes me cry though at the
But
end.
Give you laugh, give you cry.
Yeah.
It explains these really, really deep notions of, where does artificial intelligence begin and where does it end?
Yeah.
And what constitutes a human?
I would suggest for us in film, this really started in a big way with 2001, A Space Odyssey, because I forget the actor's name now, but according to him, Stanley Kubrick's direction in that was that HAL 9000, the computer in that film, was meant to be more human than the human crew members.
Yeah.
Which is why they're always so deadpan and monotone. And this film sort of does a similar thing. I mean, at the end of this, spoilers are... This film came out in 1982. I don't think we...
Which I can't believe the captain has taken so long to get here. It's ridiculous. This is a time tug.
Oh, my android fell in the ocean. It's not dead.
Maybe something went wrong with his timer today to get here on time. Yes, this is of course a time tug.
Yeah.
And you thought you'd got away with it, Matthew.
You mentioned it before we started, and I thought, oh, here we go. And then I thought you'd forgotten, and...
I never forget to time tug.
Can I stick around this way?
Yeah, of course you can, Captain. Just hang around. Just sit in the back, okay?
Oh, look at the time.
Yeah, all right. Just shush.
He's
all
in
right?
a rush.
Yeah, he's a busy man. He's got a lot of things to do. Anyway.
He loves Ridley Scott as well.
Well, maybe he should actually talk to me. We might have something. We might get along. That'd be nice.
Yeah,
maybe.
you and the captain have got something weird going on. I
Yeah,
don't
well,
know.
he knows what he did. Anyway, back to Blade Runner. What was I saying? Yeah, towards the end of this film, there's a big showdown between Deckard and Roy Batty, because obviously Deckard's there to kill him, or retire. You don't kill.
Retire.
You retire them. You don't kill replicants. You retire them. And as Roy Batty's life, if you want to call it that, or his timer is running out, he sort of realizes that instead of killing Deckard, he just wants to impart some of the memories that he's had in his incredible 4-year life. And he has that wonderful monologue, which was allegedly improvised. Because, again, I'm going to go down the rabbit hole here, but I saw a documentary about the making of this film. And that last scene where they're on the rooftop, the shots of Roy Batty, there's this beautiful like neon blue light. And you just assume it's coming off a building or a billboard. It's actually daylight because they'd gone so far over schedule, the sun had come up. And the executives had turned up and said, that's it, you're done. And so they just improvised that monologue, and that was it. That was the film.
Wow.
And it's one of the most incredible monologues from, this non-human character who's having this wonderful human experience. And he just wants to impart these memories onto Deckard. Like, he says, I've seen things you wouldn't believe. And, goes on, all those memories will be lost like tears in the rain. It's just it raises so many questions, this movie. It's so beautiful and so eloquent in what it throws around.
I wrote about that monologue in my honours thesis.
Oh, it was to please tell us more.
No, that's about it. That's all you need to know.
It definitely does explain the artificial intelligence question very well, and it has 4 very solid. Well, I would say probably 3 very solid characters that touch on. No, actually 4. Sorry, 4. I was thinking, it'd be the 4 androids, but no, it's really the 3 androids and Deckard. They all.
There's also Rachel.
Oh, and Rachel as well.
Yes, Rachel.
Rachel's an important part of this. Who
Very important.
the actress who is also known as the transvestite in Ace Ventura.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I've only ever seen Sean Young is her name. I've only ever seen her in this.
Anyway, that's just a small point.
And just on that topic, Rachel doesn't know she's a replicant. So there's this whole thing, they do a void comp test, and Deckard comes along to Tyrell because he's been summoned there. Oh no, he wants to learn more about the replicants that have come back. And he tests her and realizes, she's a replicant, but she doesn't know. And so it's this idea of, if she was never told, she's behaving like a human being. She has memory implants. Is she not as human as everyone, or if not more human than everyone else? And they form a bit of a love interest as well.
Which obviously causes Deckard to sort of question his own.
That's right.
Consciousness.
And talking of memory implants, I mentioned the unicorn dream earlier, which was not in the original. But the reason that the unicorn dream is so important and so significant is obviously a unicorn doesn't exist in real life. So how can Deckard be having this memory or this dream of a unicorn if he's never seen one? And it implies that he's got memory implants. And it's sort of this, it implies that he's actually not human just through him remembering stuff that he wasn't there for. And the second film, which came out many, many years after this, only came out, 2018?
2015.
Was it 2015?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Anyway, that film is a lot more blunt, shall we say, as to whether or not he is or isn't a replicant. This film, even though Ridley Scott has always maintained he is, does invite you to form your own opinion. And I think that's the great thing about this movie is it's very much like you've got all these clues here, but you take away from it what you want and you can think what you want. I never get tired of watching this. My dad described this film as listening to your favorite album. It's sort of it's like just songs coming along because there are so many different moods and vibes and scenes and imagery and that it just sort of just washes over you like a sort of beautiful piece of music.
It's kind of funny, isn't it? It's a slow burner.
And that's the thing. This film didn't do well because it was marketed as an action movie, and it other than one sort of semi-chase fight scene at the end, there's no action in it. It's all talking and investigating and finding clues, that kind of stuff.
I always want to go to the little Asian grocer guy that he goes to for his food.
With the noodles.
Yeah. There's something so like comforting about being amongst so many people in such a huge city, but a small space that you can go and find refuge.
Which is oddly, I think, the opposite point the film is trying to make, that Deckard obviously doesn't feel like a part of a group here. He feels like really isolated. Despite all these people, he feels like he's alone.
Well, I didn't realize this because I've watched this growing up, this film, so I didn't pick up on this until I was an adult. But he's actually an alcoholic.
Yeah,
like whenever he's alone, he's drinking whiskey, and he doesn't stop either. So he definitely feels like an outsider. I think he knows that there's. I mean, I'm only speaking to my own opinion on whether or not he is human or not, but he definitely feels like there's something different about him, perhaps.
I arrived to the Blade Runner party very late because I was very interested in Denis Villeneuve's Villeneuve. Sorry.
You always correct me on his name, and now you've got it.
No, I've always fluked his name. Always fluked it.
Denis Villeneuve.
Yeah, his Blade Runner 2049. I was very interested in that, and I'd never seen Blade Runner up until then. And so I sat down and I watched the film, and I was like, okay, I understand why this is a classic. It's not pressing my buttons.
Okay, yeah.
And then I watched 2049, and 2049 blew me away.
Okay, yeah.
Blew me away. I was I've gone back and I've rewatched that like half a dozen times now. But immediately after I watched, I sat down and watched this again, and after I was done with that, I was like, I need 2049 like this.
Okay.
And I can tell you why. I think 2049 might be the better film.
Oh, I personally would disagree.
I know. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and 2049 to me, on a personal journey, is I haven't seen that yet. So between the two of you and myself, I haven't seen it, so I can't give you that opinion. But I have an interesting sort of feeling about the original Blade Runner in that I feel like it's a film that I've always known, like Sunday cartoons or whatever.
Yeah.
Like Blade Runner has always been something that I've had on my palette as a film that I know exists and have seen numerous times. Because for me, like Matthew, you talk about it being a favourite film of your father's, same with me, in that this was a film that my dad, as one of his favourites, said, you've got to watch this film. And it's a film that we had on tape, had on VHS, or if it was ever on TV, we would be watching it. And it's weird, like it's a film that, perhaps not until I got older, I actually consumed as a single piece of media.
Oh, I get what you're saying now.
You feel like I'd seen the film in its entirety.
I have that with
perhaps over 10 years in bits and pieces.
I have that with Empire Strikes Back. For me, Empire Strikes Back was always quite I remember moments like him going into the cave on Dagobah, and then obviously the big reveal at the end.
Yeah,
and it was ages. I think it was until it was on DVD. I thought, I can actually watch this as a whole movie now.
And sort of the sensation that I had with this was watching it, where I felt like I could cognitively understand the film, is that I had seen everything in this film before, but finally all of those pieces were being put together. But I felt like I knew that I knew everything that happened in the film. But it's kind of a film that ages on you, and you sort of become more capable of understanding, or you're able to look at it from a different angle and appreciate the different values that it brings out in questioning, the character's reality, but then your own reality as well.
No, absolutely.
I do feel that sort of the same way in a different aspect. I feel like in terms of cinema, this is a very like what's the study of like humans and human beings, anthropological in the sense of cinema. Like you can sit down and you watch all these modern sci-fi films, and you know, oh yeah, this is a trope, this is a gimmick. But then you sit down when you're 25 and you watch Blade Runner, and you start to fill in all these missing links between Blade Runner and then this film, and then another film, and you eventually get down to what was Blade Runner's influence in anime, and you can actually see that sort of spread out there.
Yeah, and I get what you mean. It's funny actually, because you sort of think about when it comes to science fiction and sort of that era, you've really got George Lucas doing Star Wars. Then the one after, it starts with Close Encounters, doesn't it? Really, Steven Spielberg, which is a great movie. Then you go to Star Wars, which sort of suddenly you've got a used future kind of idea. Yeah. Then Ridley Scott takes that in Alien, just makes them all truck drivers, and goes even further. But then with this one, it was just so. I mean, I'm sure it's been done before this, but not so well. Like the style and the kind of griminess and sort of post-future, but everything is. Like, all the buildings are really old in this, and they've all got like water damage because it's always raining in Los Angeles in this movie. And none of the buildings look futuristic.
Yeah.
They're old buildings by the standards of 1982. And it's just like people just holding on to survive. That kind of thing is, I don't know, you can see how that went on into other movies, that kind of sort of style.
Do you thinking about these films that they are classics, right? Yeah. There is always the fear that people are saying, you've got to watch this film.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, I really, for me, watching Blade Runner, there are some times that I want to watch it, and other times I want nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
It's one of those films you really got to be in tune to. Well, I mean, you don't have to be, but does it help to be in tune with what you want to watch at the time? I guess that goes for any film. But, there's the classics,
Yeah, I would suggest for this film, because I do adore it so much, I can just sit down and watch it anytime. But like Lawrence of Arabia, amazing movie, but I have to be in a mood to watch it because it is a commitment to sit through that film. But the biggest issue is because this film is such a classic and it is considered such a high level of science fiction. So people like yourself, Steve, who were late to the party, you do have that. I'm sure you had that in the back of your mind that people go, "This is an incredible movie." This
the
is
hype
so good.
hurdle.
Yeah, exactly. And then it's sort of like, does it live up to the hype?
Hype hurdle. I've never heard that before. I like that. Nice.
I am surprised that you think 2049 is the better movie. It's an incredible film. Don't get me wrong. And Roger Deakins, the cinematographer, did a great job of shooting that movie. For me, I don't know if it's just because I grew up with Blade Runner, but there's something about the world that just feels more real in the first one than it does in the sequel.
The hype hurdle has always been real with Blade Runner up until 2015 for me.
Yeah.
But my interest in Denis Villeneuve.
Did you add an extra syllable?
Oh my god. My interest in that film outweighed that hurdle. I was like, I just need to see this film. I'll get it out of the way with. That'll be 2 hours. It's no stress.
It's not a long movie. I think it's about 100 minutes. Yeah,
it's all right.
And then number 2 is about 3 hours. I think.
I was just going to ask you, should I watch that after this?
Yes,
and it sounds like I'm not going to have time to sleep.
It's a good movie.
If I got to start a 3-hour film, man.
Ryan Gosling is phenomenal.
Yeah, but I mean Harrison Ford though. Oh.
Yeah.
It's so good
Harrison
to see him back.
Ford, in my opinion, has a real issue with phoning it in sometimes.
Yeah.
He doesn't do it in this film or in the sequel.
Because I've seen a lot of films with Harrison Ford where you're like, you do not care about this movie that you are in. But I feel like the original Blade Runner, you can tell that he's enjoying being there.
And that's an interesting point actually. That's why the voiceover doesn't work, because the voiceover was an afterthought by the studio because they were worried the film didn't make much sense, which it does. It actually makes perfect sense. So he wasn't happy about having to record it. So when you listen to him, he's really deadpan and just doesn't care. And on that same documentary I watched about the making of this film, there are some outtakes of him doing that voiceover. And it's stuff with him just like he'll be halfway through a sentence, goes, "Oh, this is so weird. Like, why are we doing this?" Like he did not want to do it. He did not want to do that voiceover.
Did he enjoy 2049 by the looks of it?
I think he looks. I would say so.
Yeah,
I think he was glad to be back. I wanted more of him, to be honest.
He's only a small part.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
But when
okay.
he's on screen, he's terrific.
Okay.
You can always tell when Harrison Ford is enjoying a movie because if he lands on the ground, he'll be really awkward about it. Like in this film, he lands on the ground on the roof there and his feet are going everywhere and he just looks like he's sort of like trying to hold onto a bar that's not there. And the same goes in like Indiana Jones. He's like on the ground there and he's trying to like hold on to stuff that's not there. So I've worked it out.
Okay, please
worked it out.
please explain. That made no sense to
Like-
me.
Hang on. Rather than Steve explain anything, I'm going to give my interpretation of what.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is that if Harrison Ford enjoys a film that he's in, he's more willing to put his body on the line,
Yeah.
which is visible on screen
Yes.
with the stunts that he does
Yes.
personally, that he obviously does them and cares about
Yeah.
them enough to get actively physically
Yeah.
engaged
Yeah.
in the acting.
Yeah. If his feet look weird on screen, he's having a good time.
His feet look weird.
Think about
Like
the
just
fugitive.
moving around and...
Think about the fugitive. Like he's like he falls on the ground a couple of times there. and he's like,
I think you've developed a really solid theory there.
I mean,
Matthew, you don't seem convinced. But
Well, the only mannerism I've ever picked up from Harrison Ford is the Harrison Ford point. He always points in his movie. He does a lot of
Yeah.
angry pointing, especially in Star Wars and in Indiana Jones. And Air Force One is, if you want to see some angry Harrison Ford pointing, watch Air Force One.
does he fall on the ground awkwardly?
I think he does.
He enjoyed that
He must
film.
have
He
enjoyed
enjoyed that
that
film.
movie.
I don't think he does in The Force Awakens.
No, he didn't fall on the ground then, and he didn't
No.
look awkward either. So
Well,
Well,
I
they
think
did drop the door on him though, didn't they? During the making of that, the Millennium Falcon door fell on him. Apparently,
Did
didn't
it?
Yeah.
Oh,
and
wow.
so he
was-
crashed his plane and the door fell on him.
Anyway, back to
That was
Blade
a
Runner.
mess.
before we, I don't want to introduce too many theories and stuff and things like that about this film because I feel like we're going to keep our audience far too long than they already need to be.
What do you mean? I'm just getting started. I mean,
But there is the theory of the Ridley Scott universe about how this film
Yeah.
connects with another franchise.
that's right.
Is it a theory if it's sort of been confirmed though?
Well, it's confirmed by him.
Yeah.
But I mean, as far as I'm concerned, Ridley Scott is God, so it must be true.
Well, go on, speak, child.
Okay, well, it is actually confirmed on the Prometheus Blu-ray special feature, so I guess it is actually accurate. But the idea is that this universe, the Blade Runner universe, and then the Alien universe are shared. They're the same universe because there are references to Tyrell in the expanded material for Prometheus. And in this film, a lot of the graphics in the computers, they probably only did it for budgetary reasons, but they're actually shots taken from Alien,
Yeah.
from the Nostromo, especially of the Purge sign and then the little circular thing going further away. That's straight out of Alien. Like, it's not even a new shot. They've just taken the film and put it into Blade Runner. But it's this idea now that there's this cross-connect of technology and companies and that kind of
Which
thing.
is strengthened only by the fact that Covenant and Prometheus focus really heavily on David's artificial intelligence as well.
That's right. And there's a theory that in Blade Runner 2049, when they go to Wallace's headquarters, that you've got the models of clay models of humans that
Yeah.
they're actually just, because they're big, they look like engineers from Prometheus. I don't know.
I like that. I like that.
Well, it's like the only way, the reason that the whole Alien versus Predator thing exists is because in one of the Alien films,
No, Predator 2.
one of the Predator films,
Yeah.
there's an alien skull as an Easter egg, and then they were like, you know what? Let's join those universes.
Here we go.
That was a terrible, terrible decision.
So anyway,
Anyway, but yeah, there's this theory that they are a shared unit, which it kind of works. It does. I mean, Blade Runner set 2019, and Alien's not set until, was it 21? No, 20.
Oh, like 2 centuries in the future.
It's a long way away. Yeah, so Peter Wayland would not be alive during the time of.
I mean, really, the universes being connected is inconsequential
Yeah,
to
it
the
is.
films.
It's nice
yeah.
it's nice to think that Harrison Ford was kicking around in the Alien universe, though.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, why not?
Can I ask you both a question?
No.
Because you grew up with it, and specifically about the final cut. Is there anything you don't like about it?
It's a good question, actually. I'll tell you that there's one thing that I don't like about this film, and it's such a small thing, but at the end, they're on the top of this building, and it's raining. And there's one shot where a character comes out of the rain to talk to another character, and you can tell that the rain tower they were using stops, because he's in the rain, and suddenly he's dry, and you can tell. and they've done that, I'm assuming, because like again, it was a nightmare to make this movie. So I'm amazed it looks as good as it does, to be honest, because this film holds up today. If you watch this on Blu-ray, some of the shots, especially interior shots, are so stunningly shot.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that annoys me that the rain doesn't come the whole way.
Maybe there's a
across.
ledge above them.
And there are lots of tall buildings. That could be it. Yeah. Fun fact. At the end, Rutger.
Wait. Is this going to be a fun fact?
This is a fun fact, I promise you. So Roy Batty at the end jumps from one building to another, and they obviously built the tops of these buildings on a soundstage, and they were going to just get a stunt guy to do it, but they were running out of time. So Rutger, I can't say his name, Rutger Hauer said to Ridley Scott, if you can move them slightly closer together, I'll do it. And Ridley was like, oh yeah, cool. So they physically moved the set closer together, and that shot of him running and jumping across the building is actually him, and it's the one and only take they did of that stunt. And it's actually him that does it. There you go. Fun fact.
Why did he get down to his underpants for that chase?
That I can't tell you.
Why is he in his underwear?
He does a very weird, quick costume change for no reason whatsoever.
Maybe because, he's sort of getting closer to his...
He knows
he's reaching thermal max or something like that. He could be heating up and needs to cool down.
And I don't understand. It was Rutger Hauer's idea to hold the dove, but I'm not sure what the dove is meant. Well, obviously he lets it go when he dies. I don't know if that's meant to be him, like his soul, because he's clearly got a soul, which is replicants aren't meant to have. Maybe it's meant to be a metaphor.
That's obviously it's supposed to be symbolism, but
there's probably very.
But where he gets
heavy.
But where he gets the dove from, I don't know.
He might have been carrying it the entire time.
Maybe
Yeah.
Maybe he's got
a whole movie.
He could have a little hatch, couldn't he? He's a robot, so his chest could open up and he's got a little dove.
I mean,
in
it's
there.
a very, it happens at funerals. It's
yeah,
all those sort of things.
When he goes to see Tyrell, there's a shot there where he purposely puts his hand in a pocket on his coat, and I'm guessing that's where the dove was.
Yeah.
Was the dove real?
It's definitely real.
So it's a real, because remember they talk
Oh,
about...
you mean, is it? Oh, you mean... Oh, no, because most animals aren't real. I see your point.
That's right, in the context of the film.
I thought you meant, did he imagine it?
No, did he manage to get a hold of a flesh and blood
Maybe he did.
pigeon? What is it? A dove?
A dove, yeah.
Or is it just a robot dove?
I don't know. I realise, we do have to wrap up, because otherwise I won't stop, but we can't not mention Vangelis' score, which is sensational. It's such a... It could only work for that movie. I find that score is so fantastic.
I don't want you to escape this as well, Alex. I would like you to tell me one thing you didn't like about. I feel like
sorry, Vangelis. That's all we're going to mention about you.
I felt like you dodged that question really well.
I think I just forgot about your question, and that might have led to. And also, Matt went on a diatribe about things. So
yeah, sorry guys.
By that stage, I just completely forgot.
Pyramids of those tangents.
I don't know. I think it's really hard to, and that's what's going to be really difficult about giving this a rating as well, because when it's a film that you feel like you've known forever, it's kind of hard to go, it's like a relative that you've got. How do you criticize a relative? I mean, I know we all can, but, for the most part, you're like, well, it's part of the family. I love it. It's not my choice. I don't know that I can actively criticize something about it. What I do not like, though, is the trailer for this version is just haphazard thrown together bunch of shots from the film.
Yeah, the trailer is actually shocking.
If you were trying to get into Blade Runner and something like, watch a trailer for this, you'd be like, I have no idea what this means. There's a dude and he has blades and
does some running.
There's
is this an ice skating movie?
What does Blade Runner mean?
I don't actually know, because I have read the book, and I read the book probably about 4 years ago now, and
there are probably people yelling at their phones.
Don't you know this what it means? I'm sure it means something, and it might actually be in the book. I just can't remember off the top of my head why they're called Blade Runners. I can't remember now. I apologize, everyone.
It's cool, that's for sure.
It's definitely a very cool. Yeah,
it's a sexy name.
You can tell why they didn't call the film "Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep." They called it Blade Runner. It's a much better film title.
And I remember being as a kid, I'm pretty sure you see boobies.
You definitely do. Definitely do.
Yeah. If that's how you want to end this discussion, one of the greatest films of not our generation, but just of all time, shall we say? Yeah, there is some nudity.
The guy that plays Tyrell is the bartender in The Shining.
He is. That's right.
Oh.
Yeah.
I like you, Lloyd.
Mm-hmm. And he's still alive. He's like 90.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Watch this movie. If you haven't seen, if you somehow survived without this movie in your life, firstly, well done. I don't know how you've managed that. But now go and see it and don't do anything else. Just watch this film.
If you're like me and you really want to watch Blade Runner 2049, watch this film because you're going to need the context.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, they do follow on pretty directly.
All right. Out of 5 watts, what do we?
What's?
Yeah. Well, there's that.
Unicorns?
Unicorns.
Doves?
Doves.
Jack Daniels bottles?
Tears in the rain.
Oh, Tears in the Rain.
Rucker Howard's thong.
He doesn't wear one of those.
Yes, he does.
No, he doesn't.
The hidden chest pigeon. Weren't you alluding to that before?
No, octagon glasses like Tyrell. They're massive and
Oh, his magnifying.
and
Yes.
very eight-sided.
Yes. Yes. We've ruined it.
Yeah, you know what I like about these sci-fi films? It doesn't have a super young cast.
Yeah.
Is
Yes.
it
It's not
like,
a youth adult film.
No, it's like, people who, of our age sort of look up, people
Yeah.
a bit older than us, and sort of comes with a sense of authority and realism as well, that it's actually like just people trying to go about their day
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
and just like, oh, I have to do this.
Harrison Ford just wants his noodles at the beginning of this movie before he gets the job. He just wants to eat.
Shoulder pads.
I can relate to that.
You know what? I've really got a thing for shoulder pads. Like in women's fashion, when you look at women's fashion and like big 80s shoulder pads,
Out of shoulder pads, I think it is.
it really does it for me.
Really, Scott, if you're listening, I still love you. Please don't hate us.
Can you wear shoulder pads next week?
I love it when my humans look boxy.
Is that a metaphor because she's a replicant?
I think though, it probably was just a symptom of the 80s, but like I was watching it, I was going, she looks boxy because they want to allude to the robot. Yeah,
But it's just the fashion of the time.
it's just the fashion of the time.
I've nothing. Look, if you're not going to take this seriously,
I want to see you in a see-through raincoat.
If I had the materials to do it on this island, I would. You know I would.
Right, out of 5,
Okay.
what are we doing? Octagonal glasses?
yeah,
Is that what it was?
let's do that. Let's do that.
Okay,
Shoulder pads.
Matthew. No, you can go last, Matthew.
Yeah. Well, I am going to go against the grain here. I'm not a massive fan of this particular soundtrack.
Oh, rat!
Okay.
Wow. Okay.
I also think it sort of speaks to the larger point about the film, and that is because it's been spoiled by me, for me, sorry, because I've seen Blade Runner 2049, and I think that is the superior film. That's the superior film, the superior acting, the superior score, the superior cinematography, and I definitely sat down, watched it, and was like, you know what, I definitely need 2049 now. I need Ryan Gosling, I need Robin Wright Penn, I need Dave Bautista as Sapper. He was fantastic, and I need all of that. So 4, just because I think there's something better on the horizon.
It's amazing, really, that
yeah.
every word you just said was wrong. But, that's okay.
Oh, it's my turn now, isn't it?
Yeah, go on. All eyes are on you, Alex.
I agree with some of Steve's point. Actually, I don't know what I think. I honestly, this is one of the first films where I genuinely just feel like my rating is just mush. It isn't a star system. It's just like, it's just whatever. I don't know.
It's like rating your lungs capacity for oxygen. It just doesn't.
See, and I know Matthew's going to give it a 5, and I feel like for me to give it a 5, I need to be on the level that Matthew is. You understand what I mean by that?
Yeah, you know.
You can form your own opinion, Alex. That's okay.
I know I can, and I will, but I don't think I've got a huge opinion to give on this film.
So out of 5, would you say that this is a piece of furniture?
I know exactly what you're saying by that too. Like it's just something that's existed in my existence. I don't know. This is really hard for me to give a rating.
I'm going to be sick.
But
It's all right. I'll close my eyes. I'll look away.
so what if I split the middle with a rating that doesn't mean anything at all and say 4.5?
That's cheap. Oh, all right. Whatever.
That's really good. That's a really good.
yeah.
Like,
No, that's good. That's fine.
90%, isn't it? Yeah.
yeah,
Are you done?
Jesus Christ.
sure. How much recording space have we got left on this device? Okay? Speak.
No, so
Matthew.
did you have anything else you wanted to say, Alex?
Nah.
You sure?
Yep.
Yes, you sure. All right. Well, I would like to take the moment then, the ladies and gentlemen who are
Alex
listening,
is going to monologue again.
He is, I
to
know.
apologise to my colleagues. We're all human. We're not all perfect.
$5 says
Speak for yourself, man.
$5 says he ends this by saying tears and rain.
I wasn't. No, I was going to avoid that. I already did that earlier. No, I'll keep this short because it's obviously it's 100 from me. for this. No, it's a 5. It's one of my favorite films of all time, and from in my opinion, one of the best filmmakers that we've had grace our cinema screens. And this film is just incredible. Like, it's a piece of art. This film is just a piece of moving art. So yeah, 5 from me.
You did keep that short.
Yeah, I can
That
actually.
was phenomenally short.
I have self-control.
Mind you, you've spoken for about 80% of this episode, which is, you know what? I have quite enjoyed sitting back and just listen to Matthew talk about this.
Oh, thank you. If anyone would like to continue this discussion, you can contact me at...
Okay, so let's just bring up the music there. We have been the Trailer Album Podcast, and this week we talked about Blade Runner, the final cut, which was a request from...
Andy, my dad.
Yeah, good on you, Andrew. So thank you very much for sending us in the request. Now, of course, he did that via contacting his son directly, but you could also contact us via the Facebook page. Send us a message there if you'd like to send us a request. There is an email, contact@trailerisland.com.au. You can check out our Instagram and our Twitter, and you can find us every Wednesday. Well, you can find us anytime you want, really.
Yeah, we got a nice catalogue, haven't we, now?
We are building quite the catalogue, and you can find us on any sort of streaming service that you prefer. We're even on Spotify, Deezer, Apple, Google, the whole shebang.
Just like that, if my father could contact me directly as well, I miss you.
Oh, no.
Help me, Daddy.
I don't know what to do now.
Yeah. Good music, though,
At
isn't it?
islandtrailer.com. Emails to the post office.
Yep, send us a pigeon.
Or a dove, even.
Or a dove.
Yeah.
Yep.
You can send mail as far as you'd like. Sorry.
I think, yeah.
Oh, no.
All right, then. All right. So yeah, thanks. Again, if anyone wants to have a good, 3-hour discussion about Blade Runner, let me know.
Yeah, we've been the Trailer Island Podcast. I've been Alex. I've been joined by...
Rutger Hauer.
And Harrison Ford.
Good night.
This is a Narrative Network podcast.